Hi everybody, this is the baseball head, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the people's champion. Your host, and welcome back to the baseball head. Hopefully you like this video. And hit that subscribe button. So we're back here talking about the New York Mets. Mets still have, I guess it's the last day of the GM meetings. There is an idea come out, report that came out on Thursday about the Mets' Brandon Nimmo. This is from the New York Post, Joel Sherman, that the Mets are thinking about moving Nimmo and seeing what kind of value he has. I said in the offseason started that the Mets had to look at outside the box. They had to be outside the box thinking to see where they can improve that team, because this group has been together a long time. They've been together since 2019. And as you know, Brandon Nimmo's been here since 2016. He's been with the organization a long time, 15 years. Going back to 2011, he's the first draft pick of the Sandy Alderson era. So he's been around a long time. And he's a great guy. In my opinion, he's a great American success story. I talked about him a lot, and I'm a big supporter of his. But I have to look at things honestly. The Mets had a major problem this year, and they've had major problems with this up and down play that they've been on really since 2019, where they're up and down and up and down. They go through these hot streaks and then these cold streaks and these hot streaks and these cold streaks. We saw this for many years since 2022, the extremes that this team goes through. Now, Brandon Nimmo is not a problem in terms of his hard work. This is not negative, kind of he's a bad guy, you got to get him out of the clubhouse. This is more of the consistency you need from a team that is looking to win a World Series. And you got to be extremely consistent. And now I will say this, he's very tough late in the game, with the game on the line, with the bat in his hand. But this is a group that needs to be broken up. I've talked a lot about it. There is a very good possibility that Pete Alonso will sign elsewhere. Now, Mets, just as an aside with Pete, I've already talked with Alonso and his agent, Scott Boras, about a new contract. Seems that they're getting along at the moment. Maybe that's good news. I did do a video the other day where I asked AI where Pete was going to go. AI said he's going to the Cubs for 5 years. So I think there is a real seriousness with both sides. The Mets don't want to lose those home runs. They don't want to lose those RBIs. But the defense has to get better, and part of it's not playing Pete at first as much as he has been. But looking at Brandon Nimmo, Jeff McNeil, this is a group of guys that have been here a long time, and you have to start to look and see where you can go and improve your team. Now, I would mention that Jeff McNeil had, I guess, surgery, had that thoracic outlet syndrome surgery. I guess it was a minor procedure that he had. That's tough. That's a blood clot. That's scary. But I know they're thinking about moving him. He has to get traded. He's an easier move to make. Now, back to Brandon Nimmo. Brandon Nimmo signed a big contract 3 off seasons ago. After the 22 season, they signed him to an 8-year deal. He's got 5 more years left on the contract, and there's a lot of money left on the deal. Money's not going to be a problem if the Mets decide to move him. The 2 biggest issues with Brandon is when he's got no trade clause, full no trade clause, so he can't be traded anywhere without his approval. And secondly, what do you get in value? What do you get back in value? That's really the issue. I've not asked AI where he's going to go yet. I have to look it up. But there's plenty of teams that be very interested in him. I know the Mariners would be, certainly. The Cubs would certainly love him. The Yankees would like him. I could tell you that. The Yankees would certainly love to have him. The Dodgers, maybe not the Padres now, because the Padres look like they're going to get sold. They're looking to sell the team. The Giants, there's plenty of teams. The Blue Jays, they wanted to sign him a few years back. Plenty of teams would be interested in him as a player. But the contract, the length of the contract is a major problem, and the no trade clause is a problem. Money's not a problem, because the Mets will eat the money to get a better player and get better players for Brandon. But like I said, the problem isn't the person. There's nothing wrong with Brandon Nimmo's person, as far as I can tell. The issue really is hasn't worked. The team has not won. This group has not won. And he's older. He's 32. He's going to be 33 in March. He's really one of these players that He's not a leadoff hitter anymore like he was when he signed the contract. He is now a guy who bats in the middle of the order. I know they bat him cleanup a lot. He's not a cleanup hitter. He's he had a lot of RBIs this year. But he's really, in my opinion, a 5 or 6 hitter on a good team. He does not play as well defensively as he has. His range is starting to go. I thought that if he stays here, they put him as a DH a good portion of the time. I've been talking a lot about that just to get him off his feet, because a lot of times when he's in spring training, he takes forever to get started, because a lot of it's because it takes him a while to get his legs in shape. That's also a consideration. You want to be able to get him off his feet so those legs can stay healthy. We know that he had problems with the legs with the plantar fasciitis in the postseason in 2024. So we know he has these issues. So to me, he's not really an outfielder anymore, everyday outfielder. He's not a leadoff hitter anymore, so his value is not where it was. But he's a very good player, very good veteran player, good presence on your team, good, big smile. He's, in a lot of ways, he's like the ghost of Gary Carter in a lot of ways. Always smiling, always happy, plays hard, does what he has to do. But there are things that you can see the age is catching up to him. And I can understand why the Mets are kind of looking at it, seeing what his value is. Like I said, there'll be plenty of teams lining up for him, just on the sort of superficial level. But the length of the contract is an issue. No trade clause is an issue. And how much money are the Mets willing to take back? Because they'll eat the whole contract if they could to move the player. But I think it's interesting that the Mets are actually looking to move him. Just to improve the defense. And also it mentioned there is a lot of flexibility issues here with this particular player. And with other moves they'd like to make. Like, for instance, maybe they would want to sign a Kyle Tucker, put him in left field. Or bring in another player that is down the road, that another year from now, that is a more versatile player, more athletic player than Brandon is. Brandon's not going to get any more athletic than he is right now. He's going to start losing that athleticism. But this is a tough call, because there's an emotional bond here between the player and the fan base and with the organization. So this is a tough call to make for the Mets. But I think the fact that they are looking at this is looking at the team honestly. There have been some things I've not been happy about, okay, over the last couple of things that have been said during this GM meeting. First of all, I wasn't happy about Carson Bench having that see David Stearns put pressure on him to make the team this year in 2026. And I was pissed off last night when I saw this, when he said that Ronnie Mauricio was on this roster because they didn't want to lose one of his options for this year. What are we trying to do here? Okay, I was complaining a lot that he was sitting on the bench. The Mets could have traded for a veteran infielder that could have helped them down the stretch. And they didn't do that. Instead, they had this kid sitting on the bench, wasting and twiddling his thumbs on the bench, wasting time. Okay, I didn't understand that move when they made it, why they kept him around for as long as they had, especially since Beatty was playing much, much better. Vientos was a little more consistent. It didn't make sense to have Mauricio on this bench sitting. So there have been things I've not been happy about, some of the things that the general manager has said about some of the players. But at the same time, I'm pleased to hear about this story about Nimmo being, they're thinking about shopping around to gauge the interest. I think there'd be plenty of teams in on him. Like I said, at least 5-6 teams be interested in him. You know what you're going to be paying him, and I'm sure the Mets will have to pay some of that down. There'll be tons of teams on him. Like I said, the Dodgers will be interested in him, the Giants, the Yankees, the Red Sox maybe as their DH, maybe. The Cubs, certainly. They're looking for some offense on that team. There's plenty of teams that be very interested in him. A lot of teams. I mean, the Blue Jays, they love him. Loved him a few years ago. He almost went to the Blue Jays. Well, let me know what you think about this video. And I'll have more AI videos. I got a whole bunch of other, because I'm going through the list of free agents and players on the trading block. And I'm going to have one for Edwin Diaz. That's pretty good. That's one I think a lot of people will be happy about, like Rock has said. about where he's landing. But let me know what you think about this video, what you think about Brandon Nimmo being shopped, and I'll see you later. Hi, everybody. This is the Prospect Hut, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the people's champion. Your host, welcome back to the Prospect Hut. Hopefully you like this video and hit that subscribe button. We got a little news for you. You're a Mets fan in the Mets minor league system. It seems like a prospect, or a former prospect the Mets had, being sent back to the team which he came, and that was the Mets. There's some MLB trade rumors. Rays returned Rule 5 pick Nate Lavender to the Mets. Rays announced that Rule 5 pick Nate Lavender went unclaimed on waivers and was returned to the Mets. He'll be back in the New York organization about occupying a spot on the 40-man roster. Lavender never got a shot with Tampa Bay. The former 14th round pick had undergone internal brace surgery in May of 2024. The Rays took a flyer on him in the Rule 5 draft halfway through his rehab. They had hoped he'd make it back in the second half of the 2025 season and battle for a spot in the bullpen, big league bullpen. It didn't happen. As it appears, he suffered some kind of setback. Well, that's not good. Lavender didn't pitch at any level this year. It was designated for assignment while the injured list went away last week. Wow, that's too bad. Rule 5 draftees need to spend their entire first season in the new organization on the MLB roster or injured list. Lavender met that criteria, but they also need to spend at least 90 days on the active roster in total. That doesn't happen in year one because of injury or suspension. The player's Rule 5 status carries into the winter and following season. The silver lining for the 25-year-old southpaw is that he spent a season on the Major League injured list, picked up a year of service time, and more importantly, was paid $160,000 league minimum salary. Wow. That's no small matter for a player who received a $125,000 signing bonus at draft time and had never been occupied a spot on a 40-man roster. That said, it's obviously disappointing that he wasn't healthy enough to audition for a long-term bullpen spot in Tampa Bay. Wow. The Illinois product will try to earn that opportunity with the Mets. Lavender struck out nearly 37% of opponents while combining for a 2.98 ERA between the top two minor league levels in 2023. If he's healthy, he'll probably get a non-roster invite to big league training, spring training camp. Easy for me to say. Even if he doesn't break camp, he could put himself on the radar for a midseason promotion. Continues missing back to the level with AAA Syracuse. Now, I would mention I have a few scan reports of him on this channel. The biggest thing with Lavender prior to the injury was that he walked a lot of batters. He does throw hard. He's left-handed, but he does walk batters. But the Mets were very high on him going into 2024. And then he got hurt. He was getting a long look at spring training last year, and then he got hurt in May. Then you knew there was a problem because he wasn't really pitching much, and when he pitched, he was ineffective. And then he got hurt, and then I guess the Rays picked him up last year because they didn't protect him on the 40-man roster. And I was a little surprised the Mets didn't protect him because they were very high on him. Or at least the organization was. I don't know if David Stearns was, but he's back with the Mets, so we'll see what happens now. But welcome back, Nate Lavender, back with the Mets. I'm sure you all wonder what ever happened to him. Hi, everybody. This is the Baseball Hut, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the people's champion. Your host, welcome back to the Baseball Hut 3, and hopefully you like this video and hit that subscribe button. So I'm going to talk about in this video one of the craziest guys that ever worked any of these sports networks, and anyone that's ever worked for like the big networks, is Keith Olbermann. This guy is nuts. He doesn't have a wife. He doesn't have any kids. The guy's completely out of his mind, and every so often he sort of shoots his mouth, and just loses his mind. And he's been losing his mind a lot, I guess. And this is a guy that's gotten fired more times from ESPN than you can imagine, and fired from MSNBC. But now he has like this sad, pathetic podcast. And he just went crazy on Pat McAfee. Pat McAfee did an interview with President Trump. Let me read you from Outkick. Nut job Keith Olbermann, and he's everything. That word summarizes him completely. Nut job Keith Olbermann declares Pat McAfee an asshole and outkick fascist after Trump interview. Nuts. And everything that they post the quote here at the beginning of this article, everything is a lie. It's all a lie that people have said about Trump. Quote, he platformed a scumbag who mocked a POW for getting captured and World War I American soldiers for getting paid. And he platformed him on Veterans Day. McAfee is an asshole. Trump hates the troops. And you work for a website filled with fascist twerps. Well, at least he said twerps. You could say anything else he said was bad. Anything else he said was good. And the dead of night on Tuesday, Keith Olbermann declared that President Donald Trump hates the troops. Pat McAfee is an asshole. And Outkick is a fascist website. What triggered the former TV anchor to unleash such late-night rage from his Manhattan apartment full of rescue pets? The answer appears to be a column, I guess the writer wrote, pointing out that McAfee did not sell out when licensing his show to ESPN. His Veterans Day interview with Trump proved exactly that. Quote, and this is, I guess he put out a tweet, he platformed a scumbag who mocked a POW for getting captured. That's John McCain, the globalist. And World War I American soldiers for getting killed. That did not happen, that part. And he platformed him on Veterans Day. So in other words, he wanted to see Donald Trump censored. That when you hear about the people being deplatformed, that's censorship, censoring. On Veterans Day, McAfee is an asshole. Trump hates the troops, and you work for a website filled with fascist twerps. Okay, so this is from the writer, Bobby Burak. He retweeted the article, and Obermann wrote to him. So I guess he didn't think that people were going to notice this. He followed up with a second tirade, reviving the long-debunked suckers and losers conspiracy. Keith isn't exactly at his best during the midnight hour. And he wrote this at 12:32. In another late-night rant this past summer, Olbermann appeared to threaten CNN conservative commentator Scott Jennings with a "your next mother effer" warning after Charlie Kirk's assassination. He's completely out of his mind. He really is. When Jennings tagged the FBI, Olbermann backpedaled. This is he only meant Jennings' career would be next. Then again, just look at him. It's hard to take a man this pale, gaunt and frail at his word. Oh my God, he's terrible. Looks terrible in this picture, as you see here. So what's eating Keith Olbermann? Well, it's the ideology. It's destroying him from the inside. What fuels this venom that drips from his keyboard every few nights? It appears like so many washed-up media relics, he's suffering from a chronic case of Trump derangement syndrome. The success of McAfee, Outkick, and other new media voices seem to have also put him in a perpetual spiral, hence the asshole and fascist slurs he hurls into the void. The influence of Charlie Kirk also put him on tilt, so much so that Olbermann posted a series of vile messages about Kirk's death. In September, he even posted a video appearing to sympathize with the alleged assassin. Quote, simply a man protecting someone he loved. Olbermann said, that doesn't stupid. Days later, he told the Sinclair Broadcasting Company to burn in hell alongside Charlie Kirk. Wow. Speaking of hell, some would argue Olbermann's already there. Daily Wire host Matt Walsh is one of them. Quote, Keith, you're already living in hell. Old, unemployed, irrelevant. Fired from every job you ever had. Unmarried and childless. Spending your final years alone. Shitposted into the void. Begging to be noticed. Walsh tweeted after Olbermann's tirade about Kirk. When you die, you will leave behind no legacy, there will be nobody to mourn you or even remember that you existed. Truly, I would rather be dead than live your life. It's rough. I cannot imagine the misery that you feel every second of the day, and you deserve all of it. And we long warned the woke. Keith Olbermann is a cautionary tale. We see symptoms of Olbermannism, if you will, in others, both in media and politics. Put bluntly, if you recognize the symptoms, rage, envy, a lack of sunlight, late night tweeting, and breaking out highs while uttering the word Trump, show them this video. Show them what happens when radical liberalism and loneliness consume a man. Wow. And a video of him wearing a mask. Wow. My goodness. This is from 4 years ago. He's a known guy that's really just completely deranged. Scary part, he's a Met fan. And a big Met fan. He's got all kinds of memorabilia. It's scary. That he's part of the fandom. I mean, he's really a guy, he's washed up. He doesn't have an audience at all. He's, like I said at the beginning of this video, was fired several times by ESPN. He was at MSNBC, had several shows that completely fell on their face. He completely fell on his face because it's not so much that he was like Rachel Maddow with the conspiracy theories, but he's got no personality. His personality is just rage and anger. And it's not, and he's not like entertaining. He's just a guy that reads the sports. And this is also an example, like I've talked about on this channel, where you have a guy that was in the media, that was in the sports media, then he went into talking about politics. And he's gone back and forth. And you can see this sort of, what kind of toll it's taken on him. I did a video last week on Kurt Menefee attacking the mayor of New York, Eric Adams. And that was another example of a guy that's gone back. He's going back and forth, doing politics and doing sports. In my opinion, it's not good to do both. But we see this from time to time with some of these sports broadcasters that they go back and forth. And like I said, the sports media is a microcosm of the mainstream media. Tiki Barber, who's now with WFAN and CBS Sports, he worked for Good Morning America and ABC. He was doing serious news. Michael Strahan, NFL Hall of Famer, New York Giant, won the Super Bowl in 2008. He's a guy that had a show with Kelly Ripa for many years, a fluff show in the morning. And of course, he's done broadcasting with the NFL, and he does Good Morning America now, and he does the serious stuff on Good Morning America, the serious stories on politics and what's going on in current events. And they are a microcosm of the mainstream media. And Rush Limbaugh always talked about it. And Oberman is a victim of it, to be honest with you. His whole life is destroyed because of the politics. He's burned so many bridges, not only with, I'm sure with his co-workers in the past, people online, audience. He has a podcast. I don't know I don't even know. I probably have the same amount of people that watch that he has. And he doesn't have a problem spreading lies. Even if you would give him the truth of what's going on, he doesn't like. There's no like expansion of the mind. I would mention this about President Trump. He did mock John McCain for getting caught by the Vietnamese. But I don't like John McCain anyway because he was a globalist and he was an evil guy. To be honest with you, I think he was a double agent. But he never said the thing about American soldiers in World War I. That was a lie. Because there were people in the room that heard what he said and didn't say that. Well, you let me know what you think about this video. And of course, please subscribe to the Baseball Hut 3. It's doing really well. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later. Hi, everybody. This is the Baseball Hut, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the people's champion. Your host, and welcome back to the Baseball Hut 2. And hopefully you like this video and hit that subscribe button. So I've done a lot of videos on the media and, when it comes to Major League Baseball. One of the craziest videos I did last week was on Christopher Mad Dog Russo complaining about Dodgers broadcaster Joe Davis, who also does the Fox play-by-play. And I guess he was at the parade for the Dodgers after the Dodgers won the World Series. And he was he was the MC. Well, he's been the Dodgers broadcaster for 10 years. And Mad Dog basically said in his way that it didn't look good for him to do that because he's a national broadcaster. Well, he has been the Dodgers broadcaster long before he was the national broadcaster. He is now the voice, unfortunately, the voice of the Los Angeles Dodgers. And I say unfortunately, it's not Vince Scully. As you know, Vince has long passed. But he retired back in 2014. It was his last time. And that he was graced us with his broadcasting. But Joe Davis has been there a long time now. And I guess he considers himself a Dodger. And he was going to do this this big ceremony they had at Dodger Stadium. Well, Mad Dog didn't like it. Well, Davis has responded. I guess he was on the Awful Announcing podcast. Luckily for us, they posted some of the quotes and an article about his response to Fruit Loops' response to him being at the parade and being the MC at the parade. Headline, Joe Davis addresses Dodgers bias criticism. Quote, I'm not going to win. Quote, I know it's there. I'm not burying my head in the sand, but I do my best not to get bothered by it. Well, why should he? You know, I mean, he's doing his job. You know, he does an adequate job. He's okay as a broadcaster, to be honest with you. He's okay. He's not as good as Joe Buck, in my opinion. Although Joe Buck could use a little bit of, how you could say, a little bit of enthusiasm when he did the calls of Major League Baseball. But he's certainly not Vince Scully. Joe Davis, no one ever will be. Joe Davis knows what people think about his World Series calls, and he's made peace with it. The Fox MLB play-by-play voice addressed accusations of Dodgers bias during a recent appearance on the Awful Announcing podcast, saying he understands fans are going to be upset no matter what he does. When calling games involving the team, he also broadcasts for locally. I have an idea. I just thought about it. When they show these local broadcasts, they should get two different people from the local broadcast of these teams and have them do it. Have them do the broadcast. So what if they never worked together before? It would create a good dynamic and, you know, it would be something interesting. You don't want to put a bad team together, a bad broadcast team together. Like, for instance, you get to the World Series, maybe you have Joe Davis and Buck Martinez do the play-by-play. Instead of John Smoltz, who bores the hell out of everybody. That way you keep the balance in the booth, right? Wouldn't that be a good idea? Then I think about it. Well, anyway. Quote, I try not to, Davis told host Brandon Kantz when asked if he pays attention to the criticism. Quote, I know it's there. One of the best things I did before I did my first World Series was delete my Twitter. I think I still had the account, but I gave my agent the password and said change it. I'm deleting off my phone. If we ever need to get into it, we can. Quote, so I don't hunt for it because I get it. It comes with the territory. These are exciting, highly emotional times as fans. It's what makes sports great, that we all get a little irrational at points. Dodger fans are going to be upset that I get excited for the other team. The other team's going to be upset I'm the Dodgers guy. I mean, that's really the eternal bargain. But what Mad Dog was doing was totally different than what fans are doing. Because Mad Dog's not a Dodger fan. He's not a Blue Jays fan. He's a Giants fan. And I get it. I'm not going to win. If that's my scoreboard, trying to please people on that, I'm going to drive myself crazy, he continued. So I know it's there. I'm not burying my head in the sand, but I do my best not to get bothered by it. Well, we shouldn't. Davis went from calling Game 7 of the World Series on Fox to hosting the Dodgers Championship Parade at Dodger Stadium 2 days later. A move that sparked criticism from Chris Russo and Ariel Helwani. Who the hell is that? Who is that? Russo went scorched earth during an episode of Mad Dog Unleashed on Sirius XM, calling out Davis for looking like a Dodgers homer rather than a objective national broadcaster after the Blue Jays' heartbreaking loss. Well, Dog is a Giants fan. He hates the Dodgers. He hates everybody. Quote, when you're a national broadcaster, and you're the voice of the sport on the big stage, when you did 1 million playoff games, and one of the crippling losses that a franchise is going to have in the history of the sport, that's as bad a loss as you're going to have, Russo said. The body's not even cold yet. And I got show at Dodger Stadium during the freaking Dodger parade. Oh my God, that's bad. It's not bad. Helwani, an MMA journalist and Blue Jays fan, there you go, also took shots at the Dodgers parade celebration during an episode of the Ariel Helwani show, though his focus was more on players like Kiki Hernandez than on Davis specifically. I don't know what happened with that. I probably should have done a video, but it doesn't matter. Still, Davis was aware of the criticism from multiple fronts, okay? Well, if he's pissing, first of all, again, Mad Dog's is not a Dodgers fan. He's not a Blue Jays fan. I did it last year, too. I don't know if Mad Dog was on vacation that week or what, or he had better stuff to talk about. That's what it is. He had nothing to talk about, David said. It's another one of those things where it's like, I'm not gonna not do it just because Mad Dog thinks that I shouldn't. It's right. I don't know if it's too many gummies for Dog, but that might be the problem. I know that Mad Dog's not the only person that thinks that I shouldn't, but I have 2 jobs. It's a unique situation. I'm pretty sure Dan Shulman was going to have a hand in the parade if the Blue Jays won it. It is what it is, sort of. And I'm glad that I was on Mad Dog's radar, that he cared enough that he could have a take on it. I'm going to wear it like a badge of honor. That was good for him. Good for him. I mean, that's right on. I mean, Dan Shulman is the broadcaster for the play-by-play man for the Blue Jays. He would have done that too. And, but then Dog would say, well, he's not a national broadcaster. He's not doing it on Fox. Dave has juggled local and national responsibilities since taking over as Fox lead play-by-play announcer in 2022, while continuing his role as the voice of the Dodgers on Sportsnet LA. He replaced Vin Scully as the Dodgers television play-by-play man and voice in 2017, and has been with Fox Sports since 2014. That dual role means holding Dodgers games throughout the regular season, then switching to national duties for the postseason and trying to remain objective when the Dodgers are involved. Well, he does. He's okay. He said he's not really. He said okay broadcast. I mean, he's okay. I don't see an issue with this. Davis explained on the podcast that the transition from local to national isn't just about dialing back enthusiasm. It requires completely reframing how he organizes and presents information. Right. He's got a bigger audience, so it's not a Dodgers audience. It's more in how I frame the information, like in my head. It's a full-time job to know the Dodgers and to do those games on an everyday basis. That's a different organizing of the information and presenting over the information that I do on a national level. So it's almost harder to do the Dodgers in the postseason than it is to do the Blue Jays in the postseason, where I'm picking it up fresh and have this blank canvas to build my prep on. I got to tear down everything I know with the Dodgers, or at least how I know it, to represent it. So that's the most challenging thing. That's interesting. Davis added that his excitement level doesn't change much between local and national broadcasts. Well, that's good. I mean, why would it change? He's naturally an excitable announcer, whether he's calling the Dodgers games during the regular season or playoff games for Fox. The criticism isn't new for Davis, and it won't stop. Blue Jays fans will always believe he favored the Dodgers in that Game 7 call. Dodger fans will always think he's trying too hard to prove he's neutral. Davis knows he can't win either way, which is why he deleted Twitter and stopped trying to please everyone. I mean, when you do these national broadcasts, you just got to do the best you can. Be in the moment. Just be in the moment. You'll find your way. Like I said, he's okay as a broadcaster. He's okay as a play-by-play man. The biggest problem with the broadcast on Fox is not him. That's for sure. He's not the problem with that broadcast. The problem with that broadcast is that they have John Smoltz. He might be the worst analyst in Major League Baseball because he's so boring and he's so uninteresting to listen to. That he's just. He's just not. He's no Tim McCarver. We'll leave it at that. He's no Keith Hernandez. He's no Ron Darling. He's boring. He sounds boring. He sounds bored when he talks. And he doesn't stop talking. That's the problem with John Smoltz. Like I said, John Smoltz is a bigger problem than Joe Davis could ever be. Joe Davis is generic as a broadcaster. That's really the big thing. But Mad Dog going after him like that, it's not a big deal. You think Blue Jays fans are worrying about the broadcaster, who does the play, the MC at the parade for the other team? No. Only guys like Mad Dog who's got nothing else to talk about on the radio. And your host, too, because it's very entertaining, making fun. I mean, talking about them as much as I have. But thank you for watching this video. Of course, please subscribe to the Baseball Hut, too. I'll see you later. All right, everybody, this is the Baseball Hut, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the people's champion, your host, the Hut, and welcome back to the Baseball Hut 2. And hopefully you like this video. Hit that subscribe button. So I've been doing these like shorts on the channel, and on this channel, and on the Big Baseball Hut, what AI is saying about players, what teams are going to sign this player, what teams are going to sign that player, and it's been rather interesting to ask AI, because as you know, AI, artificial intelligence, is the wave of the future. Not some schmo in New York, but asking what artificial intelligence thinks. And I'm using Grok, which is the AI for X, and of course, X used to be called Twitter. And in the past, they've done some like thumbnails. This main thumbnail that you see when the video comes up, that's an AI thumbnail of Shea Stadium. But I asked Grok the outlook for the Toronto Blue Jays and what they need, what they're going to get, and what their outlook is for their season in 2026. Let me read you what Grok has to say. Toronto Blue Jays 2026 outlook. The Blue Jays entered the 2025-26 offseason riding high after a breakthrough 25 season, their first AL East title since 2015, an American League pennant, and a heartbreaking 7-game World Series loss to the Dodgers. You know what happened there. This run generated an estimated $50 to $60 million in additional revenue, given ownership strong incentive to invest aggressively, potentially pushing the 2026 payroll toward or above the $244 million luxury tax threshold. With Vladimir Guerrero Jr. locked in on a 14-year, $500 million extension starting next year, the core remains intact, but key departures loom. And analysts project Toronto as a top 5 AL contender, with a ceiling for another World Series push if they address pitching and infield gaps. However, regression risk exists in a loaded AL East. The Yankees, Orioles, and Red Sox, and a potential 2026 lockout adds urgency. Now, the Yankees always do what they do. The biggest thing that they'll have to figure out is if they're able to re-sign Cody Bellinger. That's the big guy that they have on the team. There's a lot of talk here in New York that the Mets are going to take him away, because the Mets like his versatility and his leadership in the clubhouse, and he played with the Yankees, and he played in New York, and he played really well. The Red Sox. The Red Sox have a very good young team. They went to postseason, and they look for a big back. There's a possibility that they sign Pete Alonso. There's a possibility for all kinds of things that the Red Sox could do to improve their offense, and they're looking for more pitching. The Baltimore Orioles, they have to improve their pitching, man. They need a big starter on that team, and they're looking for another bat. Understand that they're kind of on the periphery of the Pete Alonso situation, according to John Heyman, the Scott Boras whisperer. So they're, and of course, Tampa Bay is always skulking around, always has a winning record. Key roster needs the Jays' 2025 success mass vulnerabilities exposed in the postseason. The bullpen that faltered under pressure, and a rotation thinned by injuries and free agency. That's really why they lost the World Series, because of that bullpen. They need a reliever badly. But this is what AI is saying. Current status, primary needs, potential internal options, the rotation. Solid foundation with Kevin Gausman, Trey Yasevich, and Jose Berrios, if healthy post-elbow soreness. Shane Bieber exercised his $16 million player option and stability. So he stayed. Kind of figured he would stay. 1 to 2 veteran stars for depth, long-term upside. Gausman and Bieber are 2026 free agents. So those guys have a lot riding on. They have a lot riding on this season coming up in 26. Luis Varland he's been transitioning from the bullpen. Ricky Titleman, prospect call-up, and he's got an innings limit. Now the bullpen. This is a major problem. Jeff Hoffman returns as the closer with a 4.37 ERA. Dominant postseason, but he blew the World Series. They were 3 outs away from winning it, and he blew it. Blew it! A healthy Yimi Garcia and Eric Swanson anchored the setup. Only Sir Anthony Dominguez departs. He can pound sand. I mean, he's a terrible reliever. A high leverage arms they needed from their bullpen for late inning reliability. Southpaw depth. They need a lefty out of the bullpen. Bowden Francis, Brendan Little, prospect conversions like Adam Mako. I guess those guys will help. On the infield, obviously they have Vladdy Guerrero Jr. at first. Andres Jimenez slides to shortstop if needed. Ernie Clement, postseason hits record. He's got the most hits in postseason. Be playing third. Bo Bichette replacement if he walks, and a versatile depth. Addison Barger, third base, outfield, and utility guy. Joey Lopavito, being infield push, I guess. In the outfield, obviously Dalton Varsho on center. Anthony Santander in right field, even though he had a bad year. George Springer's the DH. They need a power bat for balance, injury insurance for Springer. They have Nathan Lukes, Miles Straw, the speed defense. On the catching side, they got Alejandro Kirk, and of course, unfortunately, he made the last out in the World Series. Gold Glove caliber season. He's back. Tyler Heineman, he's back. Minimum, they have depth only. Financially, Toronto has $190 million committed for 2026, leaving $50 million plus in flexibility. General Manager Ross Atkins has signaled quite aggressive spending, prioritizing pitching while monitoring Bichette. Expected offseason moves Toronto's front office aims to strike while the iron's hot. They'll likely tender a $22 million qualifying offer to Bichette. He's going to decline it and explore trades. Package Joey Lopavito, Nathan Lukes for pitching depth, shop Berrios to free cash. Here's a realistic projection based on rumors and experts' takes. Re-sign or replace Bo Bichette. The Jays want him back, but he'll command $200 million plus. According to AI, I did a video on him on Thursday, a short. He's going to command 8 years, $212 million, and he's going to resign. He's going to resign with the Blue Jays. But if he tests free agency, he's linked to the Tigers or the Brewers. And they could pivot to internal Andres Jimenez at short and add a second baseman like Luis Ariz. I would stay away from Ariz. He hits, but the guy he has no power. He's not a good defensive player, and he can't run. For lineup stability, expect a 9-figure deal to keep him. That's Bichette. Losing him would stink. Well, according to AI, he's not going anywhere. They need to add 1 to 2 starters. The Blue Jays target long-term aces over rentals, given the 2026 free agent class weakness, barring Tariq Skubal. Top pursuits, Kyle Tucker. He's projected to get 10 years at $430 million. Elite power, speed, we know what he can do. Pairs with Guerrero Jr. as a lefty master. Jays are a big sense fit per insiders. They could certainly spend the money and afford him. Framber Valdez or Ranger Suarez, ground ball aces for Roger Center. Valdez has been predicted by AI to sign with the Blue Jays. These 6 years, $182 million. The money's short. Dylan Cease or Shota Amanaga. Cease for strikeouts. Amanaga as budget. Beavers opt-in buys time, but expect a splash here, possibly trading for Tariq Skubal if the Tigers sell. I don't know about that. Bolster bullpen with lead arms. Postseason woes demand shutdown relievers. Priorities, they're looking at Edwin Diaz. I don't believe I think he's going to sign with the Mets. AI saying that. He had a 1.63 ERA, 28 saves, pairs with Hoffman for a lethal back end. There's only one back end. He's the back end of that bullpen. He's the guy. Devin Williams or Pete Fairbanks, high K closers for leverage. Williams rebounds from the 2025 depth. Devin Williams is going to have a big market for him. Because the Dodgers are going to be in on him. Possibly the Mets will be interested. I mean, there's a lot of teams that will be in on him. Even though he didn't have a great year with the Yankees. Robert Suarez, short-term setup man, ground ball fit. You can put him as a closer too. Others they're mentioning here, Gregory Soto. I don't like him. Phil Maton, I like him. Colorado's Tyler Kinley. Other targets in depth for their bullpen trade, or other targets in general. Trade for Brendan Donovan. He's got a lot of teams on him. Looks like the Cardinals are looking to trade their entire veteran group. And of course, Donovan's a versatile 290 hitter with 2 years control. A rebuild-minded Cardinals made deal. Yeah. The free agents that are not Blue Jays. Alex Bregman for third base for infield power. Josh Naylor for, I guess insurance. Prospect buys third base and Sean Keys for infield upside. Projected 2026 record and playoff odds with aggressive spending. $250 million plus in payroll. Toronto repeats as AL East champs with 95 to 100 wins and enters the playoffs as a top seed. Without Bichette Tucker, they slipped to 88 to 90 wins at a wild card fight. Fan sentiment on X is optimistic. Go all in with Tucker, Bichette, Williams, leveraging 2025 momentum before Springer Gosman expire post 2026. The Jays window is wide open. Expect fireworks. The winter meetings, and that's December 8th to the 11th. So what do you think about that? Some of the things we ran through here. Please leave comments in the comment section. And of course, they're going to be very, very active. And they're going to be in on all the big teams, all the big players. They can make a big trade. There's so many things the Blue Jays can do because they have a lot of money to spend and they've had a big year. Well, thank you for watching this video. And of course, please subscribe to the Baseball Hut too. And I'll see you later. For X, also known as Twitter, formerly known as Twitter, Framber Valdez, the left-handed starter that has been with the Houston Astros his whole career, is going to sign a 6-year, $168 million deal with the Toronto Blue Jays. The money seems kind of light to me, but artificial intelligence has placed all these numbers and went through all the numbers, and $168 million for 6 years. If you're a Blue Jays fan, you need more pitching, and they certainly could use a top-notch starter like Valdez, as we're all experienced. As you know, they just went to the World Series. They were 3 outs away from winning the whole thing. If they had him on their team, they might have won the whole thing. But that's what artificial intelligence is saying, that Framber Valdez is going to the Toronto Blue Jays. If you like that, hit the subscribe. Also known as Grok is predicting that the Seattle Mariners are going to sign Munetaka Murakami, the big home run hitter from Japan, to a 10-year, $225 million contract. Unbelievable. Probably the longest contract in terms of length that we've come across that Grok has predicted. But if you like that, if you want artificial intelligence predicting everything that's going to happen with all these players signing, hit the subscribe button. I'll give you everything you can. AI is predicting that the New York Mets are going to trade Jeff McNeil. Guess where? That's right, the Houston Astros. They're going to trade him to the Houston Astros. All kinds of rumors that they got all kinds of teams looking at him and they want to trade him. They have a lot of young players. And according to Grok, the artificial intelligence of X, it is saying that the New York Mets are going to trade him to the Houston Astros. The Astros need a left-handed hitter for their very heavy right-handed hitting lineup. And in return, according to Grok, the New York Mets are going to get a mid-tier prospect, Jacob Melton, who played a little bit in the major leagues this past year. AI, the New York Knicks are going to win on Friday night, November 14th, 2025, 122 to 118 against the Miami Heat. Knicks are going into the game not having Jalen Brunson on the team, and he's not going to be playing for another 2 weeks. At that point, they're going to do a reevaluation because he hurt his ankle. But that's going to be the final score according to AI. Now, this is all for entertainment purposes. So, if you like this stuff, you want to know what's going to happen before the game, hit the subscribe.